Welcome to
Separate Bathrooms and other handy marriage tips. Today we are talking about money, and I've often heard it said that one of the top things people argue about in a marriage or a relationship is money. It's quite the hot topic, don't you think?
That and a couple of others, but money is a big one.
Yeah.
As soon as you said money just then, I went,
Oh, really?
yeah, my sphincter would tighten up a
No,
little.
don't talk about sphincters. Gee.
Okay, so the well, I did. I puckered a
Well,
bit.
it's too late. Go on.
All right, so what I wanted to say talk about the energy of money, or our, relationship to money can be a huge influence on the success of a relationship. And look, honey, to that, you mentioned a pretty funny story a couple of shows ago about a night that we were out with Tom Cruise and his then wife, Nicole Kidman, which is, what?
Yeah. What are you going to do with this story?
No, I'm not doing anything with the story. It's just that we got a couple of comments about it, about your story and how much people enjoyed your tale. And I remember at the time thinking that you missed a couple of key funny elements, and it was, but hold on, it was about the relationship to money and how it can change things.
Right.
So just to take you back, in a nutshell, we'd been at dinner with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise and a few other people. Naomi Watts was there. The night was young, so we decided on a nightclub.
Is this where I say, oops, you dropped a name? Is that
I
comment?
dropped three there.
Dropped three.
And as one to happen, right, we ended up in this back room of a nightclub. It was secluded. No one else was there. There wasn't much happening. There was a big poker table sitting in the corner, and we decided to play. So we played for a few drinks, played for small change, a few laughs, and there was only one of us that knew how to play, and he was designated referee. So we'd been playing for about half an hour. Then old mate Russell Crowe walked in. Now, this is where you left out the details. I don't even know if you mentioned if Russell was there, actually.
I did, but I mean,
Okay,
because I got to the point of the story that I thought was important.
Well, now you're telling a story, have a point.
My
So Russell
version.
strolls in, says hello, stands back for a moment, then he lobs a pile of cash onto the table that was held together with rubber bands. He throws it into the middle of the table. He looks at Cruz and he says, if you're going to play for something real, right? And do you remember Tom didn't back down? And now we're playing for houses because we couldn't afford rent.
He's a millionaire, so he's not going to back
Well,
down.
both of them were. Completely changed the vibe. The game only lasted, another couple of hands, with the finale playing out. You, Alison Dado, with the Lone Ranger against Tom's hands. And when the cards were shown, Nicole thought Tom won. She began dragging the money into her lap, screaming, yes. But the ref stepped in and said, Alison has won, to which a certain person then started shouting, no. And then, so we'd gone from mild, friendly banter into something that was quite different. And this all happened over money. So now we cue Cyndi Lauper's Money Changes Everything. Money. Now, my wife's looking at me with an absolute disgust on her face, because you have to know, you got to know something about Al. She didn't want to be talking about people per se. And that's what I love about you, honey. You're like Eleanor Roosevelt. You're like that quote, great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, small minds discuss people. So clearly I need to stop being small-minded and discuss some ideas and events. But there was a point there that money changed the vibe of that evening.
Well,
in a major way. You got to agree to that.
yeah, I get that point.
Right.
I just, yeah.
What?
It's just, I just want to be careful that to not, I don't know, I just don't want to disparage anyone or say anything unkind, or I just don't like that. That's what I just was really aware of.
Was I unkind then? To
Well,
anybody?
I don't know, just a little.
They were facts. Do you dispute any of those facts, though?
No, but I don't know. You just don't know how people are going to take things. I mean, God knows that Russell Crowe, Tom Cruise, and Nicole Kidman are not going to be listening to this podcast. I mean, that would be, I don't think that's going to happen in a long shot, but hey.
I was fortunate enough to be playing golf at his South Sydney Golf Day the other day. I was hoping he'd walk in, but he'll probably set the front row onto us now. Get the front row of Sydney, South Sydney.
Good luck to them all, I say.
Exactly. More power to them. So tell me, what's your relationship to money?
Oh.
What's your idea of money?
My idea of money or
Yeah.
my yeah,
both.
yeah. Well, look, I grew up with the mindset of money that I didn't ever really worry about it. My dad did worry about it. I never I never worried about it. I mean, we were always comfortable. I was aware of what sort of things cost, but I always knew that we would be okay, and we always have been okay. And I think one of the greatest people or couple in my life as demonstration of money was my grandparents. They never owned a home. They had one car. They lived very, 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 very simply, and grew up, basically by standards poor. And they were just the most kindest, loving, generous, wonderful, happy people. So I saw that as my demonstration. And then growing up, I had some friends that were really wealthy who were really miserable.
Interesting.
Really miserable. Yeah. And so I never equated money and happiness together, ever. It was never that for me. What about you? What was your relation?
Well, growing up, as you know, we grew up in a home where we had everything. Dad obviously had his wife and her 5 kids and a home to support, and he was pretty masterful at managing money, I think. I don't know how much he earned. Mum did an incredible job managing what she would call housekeeping.
Yeah.
And she actually had her purse, which had the housekeeping money in it.
Yeah.
Which I always saw that dwindling. It was always going down.
Is that because you were stealing from it?
Probably. That and Dad's tennis ball can that he filled it with change in his cupboard.
Right.
But Mum was great at managing the house. She'd hit the bulk store. You know, we'd do that once a month. Go and pick
with
up
that
all
many
the
kids.
Yeah, right. Then we'd have a massive freezer in the laundry, and each month a frozen cow was delivered and systematically devoured. We'd always end up with lamb's fry or brains at the end of the month, and that was like we knew we were about to get a cow. But there was a budget for everything. Everything was budgeted for, even the holiday. And that was an interesting demonstration. I'll use that word. Dad would start the holiday with a wad of cash. He'd look at me before we'd get in the car and drive from Melbourne up to Yamba, and he'd say, "Here's our money for the holiday." And I'd see him peeling off money for gasoline, for lunch, for the hotels that we would stay in on the way up there. And it was this idea that when he'd say, you know, when this runs out, and he'd shake his head, there'd be ... So I'd be left going, what? You know, and it never did. He'd go to the bank again, I suppose. So even though I had this well cared for and brilliant education, we had holidays, I had this idea that money was hard won and that there were limits to money, which of course I validated for myself when we went through the GFC and bankruptcy and not being able to keep our home. So I think that belief stayed with me for many years until I, you know, actually did something about it or realised that I had these negative beliefs about money.
Right, that it was, yeah.
Limited.
Well, I think a lot of people do. I think that's a really common belief. And, you know, for me, my job during the time of the GFC and the bankruptcy that we went through, it never changed. Like my role didn't change in the sense that I was there to protect and care for the children and keep the home running. So I wasn't under the same kind of pressure that you were. You were under a whole lot more pressure. I was immediately thinking, I've got to bring money in as well. Yeah. Though it was also, we had small kids, so who was going to be looking after the children while we were out? It was always like, who's working, who's not working, who's looking after the kids. And I felt as my role that I wanted to, I needed to be the one saying, we're fine, we're going to be okay. I felt that was important to have the other partner while you were under enormous stress and you know, falling apart at the seams at times, that I needed to be the one going, I've got this, it's okay, we're going to make it through, it's all good. Like I knew I couldn't fall apart as well.
Like, as well, meaning I did fall apart?
Well, at times you did. It was a hard time.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a really hard time for you. For all of us, but I think more so for you. Because it hits into so much more. you
Yeah.
know, the bankruptcy, you know.
Well, it does. And as you're talking about it, I'm going back into it, you know, into those feelings. And it did. It rocked me to my core about, more than anything, about beliefs about myself, not so much my beliefs around money. We'd moved to Los Angeles for my work. You're talking about your job. You knew what your job was. I knew what my job, and my job was to get acting roles or whatever I could in the entertainment world. And, you know, you can pick up any book or see any documentary about how difficult Hollywood is. And we didn't have we had it better in Hollywood than most. You know,
Absolutely.
we survived there for 25
Yeah.
years, and I did a lot of different work. But at that time, I was questioning what my talents were, how they were. I questioned my choice of career. I questioned the choice of moving to Los Angeles, because I moved there to be, you know, to act. And was I a failure as an actor? My confidence at that time was at an all-time low. My ability to provide for you and the kids, you know, it was all in question. And I remember at that time, I just remember being at our home, just going, I've got to take control of my life best I possibly can. And I, at the same time, was feeling disheartened by our circumstances. I felt stupid. I felt really immature. I didn't move to Los Angeles to get a desk job. And that's one of the things that I couldn't get out of my brain was I came here to do a job, and I was so determined that was going to be how I took care of you and the kids and myself, grew my career. But it really was, it was time to shit or get off the pot. So I had to do something different, make a new career choice, and had a job to do. And that was the shift. When you talk about your job, my job description changed, and that became provide for the family.
Right. Well, which you'd been doing up to that point.
Yeah.
And see, for me, this is where we really differed, because for me, all we wanted from you was for you to recognize what you did have, and you had a loving wife, and you had 3 kids, and okay, yeah, we did lose our house. You know, we went into the bankruptcy, but we had an incredible community of friends that were bringing over groceries, and we still had food on the table. We had a school that went, we'll help you. You know, we want your kids to stay at this school. You've been here for so long. So we had so much kindness around us as well. And I remember feeling, there were times I felt really angry with you, not because we went through bankruptcy, but because you would say, all right, well, what am I going to do? I'm just going to go deliver pizzas then. And so you went from being this actor, and this was your only job choice. I'm going to deliver pizzas. I was like, wait a minute.
Desperation does something.
How do you get from there to there?
We had no cash. You know, we were all on credit. That's the way things were rolling out.
I know.
In America
I know.
at that time.
Though it was like, that was how limited it felt like your belief was in yourself, that's all you had left. You had no other talent, so you were just going to have to deliver pizzas. And I remember just standing there looking
Couldn't even
at you
get a job
going,
doing that.
Yeah, I think you tried.
I
didn't
did.
you? Yeah.
They asked me to clean tables out the front 2 days a week. I said, I can't do
And
that.
there was something at a tennis centre. There was something at a tennis centre that you were going to do. I don't know. It was just...
Yeah, try and play tennis. Pro tennis, I'll do that.
But you have so... But the thing that you lost was your ability to see all of your talent in everything else you can do, from acting teacher to singing to music to producing to like all of that seemed to get swept away with the bankruptcy as well because of your confidence.
Yeah.
And for me as your partner, it was tricky because sometimes you get that, I think they call it toxic positivity now. There's a term for it.
Of course there is.
Where
There's probably a holiday for it too.
a holiday.
Toxic Positivity Day.
Oh, gosh, I don't think so. Where, you know, you don't want to just smile, honey. Everything's okay. Everything's fine. Like there's that line where it's saying that when someone's in the depth of despair feels absolutely horrible. So it was such a trying to find that balance of the words that were going to help you. Not much did at that time. It was just working our way day by day through it, really.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you must remember this too. I handed over, when we first got to LA, and it was in that whole actor new agent, new manager. Well, you've got to have a lawyer. You've got to have a business manager. You've got to do. I drank that Kool-Aid, and we had all that. So I'd handed over the responsibility of our finances to a business manager, who, as you remember, we had 3 or 4 of them by the time we'd left.
Yeah.
But I did not take responsibility for our finances, and that's one thing that I learned was go, you know what? It's enough to. It's good to go out and go on location and do the acting things, because when you're acting and when, as you know, when you're doing, you're on a big TV show and you're shooting 16 hours a day and the rest of the time is learning lines for the next day. So there was a bit of necessity there to have someone to help us out. But what I took from that time was to, when I said time for a different career choice before, I remember I did get that job trying to sell water systems, pure water systems.
Oh, like you said, trying to sell.
Trying to, because I was hopeless. I wasn't hopeless at it. I took the action. I did it.
You were mortified, though. Wouldn't you say? Like every day you went out there, you were just absolutely despondent about doing it.
I was pretty slumped over.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But to try and take the positive from that time, I got in front of a lot of different characters, and I tell you, I found more egos in that world of H&R and small business than I ever did in the acting world, which was interesting. But the point about it was as soon as I took an action to do something else, and my new job was to support my family any way I could.
Yeah,
that's when acting roles started coming up.
Yeah, and you shifted the energy. You shifted your mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'd had to call that boss and say, sorry, mate, I'm heading up to Vancouver for 3 weeks. And he'd be like, he was as starstruck as I. He was like, go, man, what are you doing? What's the job you're doing? So, but that didn't last very long because things started to roll again.
Yeah.
That sort of takes me to what did I learn through that? And it's action will solve everything. You step up, you take an action. The other one you mentioned before, I couldn't see what I had. And I had 3 kids that loved me. I had you that loved me. We had Stogie, our dog, and I couldn't see the goodness that we had. So that was a major shift too, to start seeing what I had. And there was a pivotal moment there too, and you'll remember this at the zoo when River was young, and I mean he was, I don't know how, he was probably 5 or 6 or something, and he asked me if he could have an ice cream, and we're on free tickets to the zoo from friends, so we're out on an outing. Rivers asked me for an ice cream. I didn't have any cash on me, so I went to the bank teller to the ATM, and we had $38 in our bank account. That's how much cash we had. That's why I was freaking out.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've got $38.
Yeah.
And how do I make that work and buy this kid a $5 ice cream? And it was that moment that I just went, I've got $5. I can buy him an ice cream.
Yeah.
So I still get freaking emotional at that moment. But it was true. And he got his ice cream.
Yeah.
And because I was just like, I have this money. I can do it. And I've been able to implement that moment into a lot of my life since then.
Yeah.
And it's made a big difference.
And
Look at what you have.
That reminds me too. I mean, you did the Filthy Rich and Homeless show.
Yeah, right.
And I remember you coming home from that experience and talking to men who were not far off a similar situation that we were in that way. Like that's how easy in some ways you get homeless, right? Like you're just bottom falls out of your work. You've got all of a sudden you're in bankruptcy. I mean not all of a sudden, because you can see some things coming.
Yeah, but it's hard when you're focused, when you're looking but you're not seeing.
Yeah, you're focused on one thing and all these, and you keep thinking it's going to shift, and then it doesn't shift, and then all of a sudden, seemingly, you are out on the street. And I remember we talked about that when you came home, remembering that time for us. And well, we wouldn't have been homeless in the sense we had community around us that would have taken us in. It was very close. Had we not had the community, I think we would have Maybe he would have come back to Australia. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing too, because people were saying, like my dad was saying, come back to Australia, but Australia at the time, the exchange rate was so high, and I said, we can't afford to live in Australia.
Well, we couldn't afford the flights back, and we couldn't.
That's true.
We weren't guaranteed any work back here
Yeah,
either.
that's what I said to him. I cannot come back unless we've got contracts in place.
Yeah.
Which is the reason why we did come back in the end, because suddenly, Smooth's on offer and the Sound of Music was going and all sorts of good things were happening. So there were contracts in place to afford to be able to move, relocate.
And I know I believe we've mentioned this before when we've talked about, when challenges come up in a family or in a marriage, how it also gave all of us a deeper sense of appreciation of what we do have. I think it all brought that to us all, including the children.
Yeah, because they went through it. So do you think it affected them positive? How do you think it affected them?
I do think it affected them positively. I do think so, in the sense that they have a greater appreciation of what they do have. They still get excited when we go out for dinner, because we don't go out for dinner very much, but there's still this amazing excitement.
When it's free, we go. Thanks,
An
radio.
amazing excitement of going, we're going out for dinner. Mum's not cooking. I get excited probably the most.
Dad's not cooking.
Oh, well, when do you cook? But anyway.
Steady. Come on.
Though, or even takeout. I get very excited by takeout myself, because then it's just, it's those appreciative things that I think that they did learn that through that time.
Want better sleep? It's time to toss out your memory foam and upgrade to an Awara, the organic luxury hybrid mattress with Sri Lankan latex wrapped around coil springs to provide contour and a touch of bounce for supportive sleep throughout the night. The best part? A 365-night trial, no questions asked. If you don't like it, we'll take it back. You can't go wrong with free shipping, free returns, and a forever warranty. AWARAsleep.com and use code HEALTH for $350 off. Plus, we will plant 100 trees with your purchase.
Hi, this is Brooke Devard from Naked Beauty. Are you tired of feeling housebound? I sure am. Break free with the new Unbound cordless auto curler from Conair. It's a high-performance auto curler that's rechargeable and gives you up to 60 minutes of cord-free runtime. Just think of all of the incredible hair looks you can create in 60 minutes unbound away from your wall. Don't get tied down by cords. Love your look, live unbound. Check it out at conair.com and search Unbound.
So for people who are going through financial difficulties or any difficulty really, and they've got little kids, how much do you share with the little kids? Or is it age appropriate? What do you think about that?
I think it's definitely age appropriate, and I think as little information is best. I mean, when it comes to money, they don't need to know about money.
Yeah. They just want their $5 a week.
They don't need to know anything about that. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, if they're 16 and then there's a sense of like, okay, you can discuss things are tight, so you might see differences. Or though when they were little, I think it's more about, they as long as they're happy at home, they've got mum and dad who love them, and their bed and a happy, loving, kind, compassionate home. That's what kids want. They don't want. It's not about money for them at all. At all. They'll live in a very small apartment as long as they've got love and kindness and compassion very happily. Yeah,
I remember that while doing that homeless experience. I remember being around a lady who actually spoke about she was homeless with her kids, and they just thought they were on a camping trip. She didn't tell her kids at all what was going on. They thought beautiful. She thought they were on. The kids thought that they were on an adventure.
See, that's
how you look at things.
That's the beauty of mothering well, to me. She's taken that and given them an experience that they're not even thinking negatively about. It's incredible.
Yeah. It's all in your perspective.
Very
isn't it?
brave. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we had friends that that didn't share their money when they got married.
Yeah.
They didn't pool their their money. And I read this, that you are one when you're married, so you are one with money too. The whole purpose of marriage is that you are one. Married couples are found to be more dissatisfied when they don't pool their finances, and couples who pool at least 80% of their income are happier than couples who pool 70% of their money. We share our money.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I never thought anything different but sharing our money. To me, it was, that's just what you did. You got married and you pooled your account like that. I never expected to have a separate account. I never wanted one. Yeah. And you've always had enormous generosity in that way. Like, you've never said to me, we've never had an argument over, I can't believe you spent this on that. Like, we've never had that argument in all those years.
Well, there was that discussion about the butt lift.
Oh my God.
Okay, it wasn't. I'm lying.
Your butt lift. Exactly. It cost us a lot of money and it still didn't work.
It's the front part that didn't work.
What? Oh, this is just turning X-rated. You've never said to me, honey, stop. Well, because I'm not a big spender. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Though
you're a very good spender. I mean, you're the bargain queen.
I am the
internet
bargain
bargain
queen. I'm the
queen.
coupon queen, as they say. Well, this was really interesting. You pulled this up. A woman called Rachel Cruz wrote this entire thing about money. Some sort of solid marriage steps on money and when you merge your lives. I thought this was really interesting that you found this. And
well, interesting that I actually found something, or that the article's interesting?
No, that you both. No.
You could have been a bit more forthright.
No.
With that.
I think it's in. No, you've just confused me. I think it's great that you found this because it's perfect.
I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
Right.
And the first one is to not keep separate bank accounts.
All right. They're talking about, so he's talking about the 7 mistakes couples make. And one of the mistakes is they keep separate bank accounts.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was interesting too.
Yeah.
And then separating the money and splitting the bills is a bad idea that only leads to more money and relationship problems down the road. Yeah. Well, we can say yes to that only because we didn't try it the other way, but that's certainly, it's been true for us. They disagree about their lifestyle. So let's say you're perfectly content shopping at Goodwill or Salvos when you need new clothes, but your spouse loves to buy name brand items. Now, that's a little bit us, isn't it? Though it's never bothered me that you've bought your Armani jacket.
Oh, you still bring it up. I'm going to say this, the Armani jacket. 30 years ago was the Armani jacket, and I must have had it for 20 years.
Yeah. No, but that's
a well-worn piece of cashmere, that one.
And I mean, that's never been, we've never disagreed about our lifestyle spending.
No, that's true.
That's been okay.
That's true. I was going to say the keeping separate bank accounts. I mentioned our friends in the States. They did, and they would always talk about he would talk about my money, and then he'd say his wife's name's money, her money. They blew apart pretty quickly, and I guess it made their divorce quite simple because they walked away with their money. So they actually never came together. In that way.
I think they would have divorced anyway, though. I don't think it was about that.
What about? Well, I guess that comes to your number 5 here on this list. They commit financial unfaithfulness, where they're stashing money away or they're spending money on stuff.
Yeah. Now
that's a mistake.
I have been unfaithful, money wise. I would have to say.
Oh, okay.
Not that I have another account.
In what way?
Well, I think surely, ladies, you're going to relate to this. You know when you do that thing where you see a pair of shoes for $100, but it's on sale for $60, and so you buy them for $60, and then you tell your husband that you saved them $40 today? Like, is that being unfaithful? Or now that Afterpay is a big part of shopping, there's things that I have bought and not actually told you.
Can't believe it.
And Afterpaid it. And then you've gone, is that a new dress? No, I've had this dress for, I don't know, a couple of years. Meanwhile, it's couple of weeks.
Oh, you've done that.
'Cause
Yes,
I've
never
they're-
seen. Yeah, you go. I've had it for a couple of years, and because I go away a lot, it's like, oh right,
I think that is slightly that is sort of slightly unfaithful because I have felt a bit guilty at times going, I bought that dress. It might not have been an expensive dress though. It has felt a bit frivolous at the time.
right.
So I guess I'm guilty of that.
All right. Well, I'll let you off the hook, but I'll be more aware next time you bring that up. Hopefully, note to self. This is an interesting one. They let the kids. This is a mistake. They let the kids run the show. Your kids are begging you for the latest video game. You think about how well they behaved lately and figure, well, why not? But your spouse is upset because it isn't in the budget. Hello, impending money argument. So that's an interesting one too. I guess you've just got to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
With it.
Yeah. And then another one they talk about is they mistake when salary differences divide them. So if you're making $50,000 a year and I'm making $50 a year and I get cranky with you for making $50,000 a year, I would never get cranky about that. Like that confuses me, that one.
Yeah.
I guess it happens. I wonder though, do you think it's more, maybe I'm incorrect here. Do you think it's more a man would feel a bit more cranky or upset that their wife is making more than them?
I mean, quite possibly.
Because it's a little bit more attached to their ego or their...
Yeah, ego. And that guy's been, he's been exampled from his dad makes the money and his dad was his dad. So it's a generational thing. But I think that's changing now and has been probably since the 70s where women in the workforce really have become prevalent, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, but there's still a massive wage gap for women, like massive wage gap. We've got a long way to go till really women are CEOs correctly and much more, up there with the men and being paid the same amount.
Right.
There's still a massive wage gap.
Well, I don't know enough about that, so I'm not even going to go there because we're talking about money and relationships.
I know. I'm just that is true though.
You see, Al gets on these political rant rolls, and it's great. She keeps the house. She keeps us honest. So it finishes up saying couples and money should go hand in hand. Marriage is a partnership. It's time to stop making these money mistakes and find common ground. You married your spouse for a reason, believe it or not. You need their skills.
Yeah.
See, that's great. I love that, especially the ones that you don't have. Now, I mean, clearly I have a lot of skills.
Correct.
Most of them.
Yeah, all of them,
so,
really.
I don't... Well,
I can make an egg.
Yeah, I like this. That free spirit or nerd can bring valuable insight and knowledge to the table. I guess I'm the nerd. Hey, let's talk about, just quickly, let's finish on a positive with 6 key steps to healthy finances in your relationship. And I'm just gonna run you through these thick steps, these 6 steps, and we'll see if we do them. If you and I do them.
Oh,
okay. So
okay.
1, we sit down and talk about financial goals and values.
Yeah, we do that.
That's an important one. Here's one. 2, remove emotions from financial talk. That's hard. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you have to really go into that consciously then, don't you? Because it's just a hot button topic, especially if if someone's lost their job or, there's a lot of stress around money, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that would take a lot of consciousness, I think, to go into it going, okay, remove emotions, feelings. I mean, unless it's something that let's passionately make money together, So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think one of my mates has done very well in his life, very wealthy, and he's probably has no emotion around money, it seems. He said to me once, I said, "What's your definition of money?" And he said, "Money is lubricant. That's all it is. It just keeps the wheels."
It's KY. Jelly.
Yeah. Okay, that's a whole nother topic.
No, it's not. You just said
lubricant. Money's lubricant.
Yeah.
It keeps the wheels greased. So if you can just bring more lube in, I was like, that's easier said than done when you've got a ton of it, and we don't have a ton of it right now. But that's my emotion coming into it. He's just looking at it very matter of factly, and I think that's a great point. So this is somewhere point number 3 on 6 key steps to healthy finances in your relationship, and I think we do this, and we have a lot of success. When you and I come up with a plan to meet our goals, we actually write a plan down.
Yeah.
We have great success with that.
Yeah.
Number 4, develop a system for your finances that work for you both.
Yeah, probably haven't been great at that.
Yeah, I don't think so. Do we have weekly financial meetings?
No.
No, we don't do that either.
Other than put another $2 in the swear jar.
Well, probably more than $2. And number 6, and I like this, I think we do this rather. Above all, stay positive and be honest.
Yeah.
About it. And
unless you've bought a pair of shoes for $6. Yeah. Which is very rare, but yeah, I think absolutely.
I'm finding stuff out about you on this. This is great. Thanks for that. Nice surprise.
And for me, number 1 tip that overrules it all is gratitude. Just be absolutely grateful, because when you're grateful for what you have, you create more gratitude. And I truly believe that. And whether that sounds, however it sounds, woo-woo or not, I 100% live by that if you're grateful for what you have, because honestly, even the fact if you're listening on your phone, you probably have more than 50% of the world. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
We
are very fortunate to be living in this
fortunate.
place that we are.
Incredibly fortunate. People don't have running water or a flushing toilet. It's sometimes I think about that when I turn the tap on and just get a drink. It's like, wow, how incredibly fortunate am I that I can go to my tap and have a drink of clean water.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's as simple as it gets. So never losing sight of the gratitude of what you do have.
I remember I carried a rock through that difficult time, through that GFC time, in my pocket. Just a pebble that I found on the beach. I was grateful that I could go to the beach every morning, drop the kids off at school, which, was a great school, grateful that the kids were in that school. And I'd go to the beach and stand on the sand and do my exercises. And I picked up a pebble one day and wrote gratitude on that rock in black texture and stuck it in my pocket. And every time I put my hand in my pocket, I'd feel the rock and would remind me to be grateful. And it was my gratitude rock.
Yeah, it's great. It's beautiful.
It's a wonderful philosophy. That whole idea of gratitude is riches.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, you said before, more gratitude you have, the more gratitude you create, and to that, the more gratitude you have, the more you create of what you're grateful for. Yeah, that's beautiful. Please hit us up on Instagram if there's any questions you might have that you'd like us to take on, or maybe you've got a scenario in mind that you want another perspective on. Shoot any and all those things to our Instagram. Al's at Ali Dado, and I'm at Cameron Dado. And I think next time we're talking about sex.
No.
Your face.
And anyway, grateful to anyone who has listened. Thanks for that, and
see you next time.
I'm out. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, this is Brooke Devard from Naked Beauty. Are you tired of feeling housebound? I sure am. Break free with the new Unbound cordless auto curler from Conair. It's a high-performance auto curler that's rechargeable and gives you up to 60 minutes of cord-free runtime. Just think of all of the incredible hair looks you can create in 60 minutes, unbound, away from your wall. Don't get tied down by cords. Love your look, live unbound. Check it out at conair.com and search Unbound.